Hello, my friends. My name is Samuel Savy, and this week on the show, James Pantemis rewards Wilfred Nancy's renewed trust in him with a clean sheet against arch enemies Toronto. Mauro Biello is now officially a club immortal, and the women national team smell gold again. They're one win away from winning the CONCACAF Championship. All of that and a lot more in episode 91 of The Ball is Round. Oh, I forgot to turn my mic on, guys. I'm sorry, but for everyone who was live, how is Yves Paul and Ed Raphael? Everyone's good?
I'm pretty good. Eve is still on mute, by the way. I think that because we are trying the new thing with the
Yeah.
stream
Yeah,
starting
yeah, yeah.
soon, that we're not
Got
really used
confused.
to it yet. So I hope you guys
Bear with
like
us.
it better. Like it better than when we used to talk nonsense in the beginning of the show. But yeah, it's okay. It happens to everyone, right? So we're
Of
okay.
course,
We're
of
okay.
course.
There you go.
So, guys, you feeling good? You're feeling happy after
Um,
this great game at Saputo,
oh
right?
yeah. If I'm honest with you, I'm feeling a little fragile today. If I'm being very honest, I enjoyed a little too much yesterday, I think. But yeah, no, definitely. I think yesterday was a fantastic day at Saputo and in the on grounds as well.
Of course, Hady.
Yeah, and it was nice to see a sold out stadium, sold out game. It's been a while, and it was really nice. I think the place was buzzing. We felt the atmosphere. Like even before the game, I was like, "Wow, okay, it feels like a great night for us, right?" So you know what? And I was trying to be less optimistic than I usually am, but it was very hard because like I was really happy, seeing everybody there, and having a team that on paper was pretty nice to watch.
Yeah, most definitely. And just before we go into reviewing the Toronto game, Ever the Joker, Alain sent us a question and he asked us to answer to it. And as we said, we answer every single question. So we got you, Alain, at J'aime le Soccer asks us, which CF Montreal player would you want on your side in a Toronto bar fight?
Is
Um,
there is there a more obvious answer than Victor Wanyama?
oh,
Uh,
Kyoto came up a few times.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Kyoto would definitely come to my
Ah,
mind.
no way, man! Victor Wanyama, when he's on the pitch, okay, and someone tries like comes aggressively, to
Oh
try to
yeah,
take the ball from him, like the guy that really tries to take the ball from him just drops like a
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
fly,
But
you
like
know.
a
And
bar.
Wanyama is like, did you touch me?
yeah.
Were you here? It's
Yeah,
crazy.
but you need no you need I think you need somebody like with a little bit of a temper on your
Yeah.
side.
I'm the one with the temper. I don't need another one with a temper, right?
Fair enough. Fair
I'm
enough.
okay temper wise. I just need that muscle man, right? So I'll take Wanyama.
I'd go maybe under the radar. I look at Joel Waterman. He looks like a cool dude, but I'm sure that if you get him mad, he can get like really crazy and go out flying. And Patrick says our boat. Yeah, if you organize a big party and you bring everyone, for sure you're good. So guys, let's move into the game. So Toronto came into this game strong from their solid transfer window, but their recent form was nothing to suggest they would be a menace. Since the team's return to action following the June international window, Toronto only won once. It was a 2-1 win against Atlanta. Otherwise, they've lost four and drawn one. On our behalf, the last game against our rivals was reminiscing of a poor preseason performance.
Oh my
So
god.
Montreal needed to put in a much better shift, especially given how tight the standings are right now in our conference. Last week's defeat against last place SKC highlighted some problems that were starting to become more and more obvious. And one of these problems was obviously between the posts, and Wilfred Nancy surprised a lot of people by giving James Pantemis his first start of the season in MLS. Ironically, 1 year ago, it was against Toronto that he lost his place. Um, Before I read out the rest of the lineup, guys, this was a huge change. Eve, how surprised were you to see Nancy turn to Pantemis?
I think after like all the comments last week, I kind of felt like last week was a breaking point. You know, we know that certainly the owner got involved as well and expressed his feelings, maybe not specifically on goalkeepers, but certainly on the way the match went in general. Obviously, there was that controversy in the, if you will, that those two words that spoke a lot more in the press conference after as well. And it really did feel like the last match, and even I think maybe the previous match, if you put the two of them together, were a break. And it was like, you know, you were going to have to seriously question the integrity if a change didn't come soon, because on paper it was clearly not looking good, and it wasn't passing the smell test watching the game either.
Nah, and Hady, I wanted to know, do you think that James would have felt pressure or anxiety coming into this game, or maybe had this the feeling that he had nothing to lose anyways?
Listen, from what I've seen from James since he started playing for Montreal, in the games where he starts, where he's given the opportunity to start and to shine, that's where he's good.
Mm-hmm.
Where he's not really good is when the routine settles in. When it's the third, the fourth, the fifth game, sometimes he had that tendency of, just keep his guard down, unfortunately, and that's usually when it becomes a problem. So no, I didn't have a problem. To answer your question, I didn't think that we were going to see an anxious Pantemis, like and someone that would feel the pressure the wrong way. No, I think he would. I was pretty sure he was going to thrive during that first game. We'll see if he's going to show the consistency that he hasn't shown yet, because that's the only problem that James has. Because, and I've been saying it for a year, 2 years now, he's the better goalkeeper, in my opinion.
I think Pantemis coming into this game, he couldn't be feeling too much pressure, because I have the feeling that Brezad was so poor recently that Pantemis must have had almost the feeling that he couldn't really do worse, in a sense. Is that, Brezad was given a lot of time to try to redeem himself, didn't work. Wilfred Nancy almost, put his trust 100% into Sebastian Breza, and finally he took it away from him. So, James Pantemis goes out there and says, I just need to perform well, have a normal game for a goalkeeper and probably do better. So I don't think there was a lot of anxiety or nerves for Pantemis. For sure he wanted to perform well, but, facing with his position at the club and his position in front of the coach, I don't think there was any stress from him. And the center back stacks to help Pantemis were from right to left, Joel Waterman, Rudy Camacho, and Kamal Miller. Alistair Johnston returned to right wing back, while Lassi Lapalainen was tasked with patrolling the left flank. In midfield, we had Piet Wanyama and Miljevic, while Camara and Kyoto were paired as strikers. Georgia Quizera and Ismail Kone, who were starters for our last two defeats, were relegated to the bench, while Georgi Mihalovic was dressed for the first time since injuring himself on the 28th of May. Guys, did you have any other thoughts on the starting 11 for Wilfried Nancy?
No, not particularly. Obviously, I think good to kind of get those familiar faces back. I think there was definitely a big miss. And as well, interesting to try a Kyoto Camara partnership as well at home, and see if what kind of chemistry that might provide.
Yeah, and Kai said it at one point in a presser. He said it that he likes to play with Kyoto, and every time that he comes in, it's usually he comes in for Kyoto, and he likes playing with him up front. And it's been successful yesterday, and hopefully we'll see that more in the future. Or I think it's one of the best partnerships that we can see up front. We haven't seen yet Kyoto Toy play together the way they did last year, so I can't wait for that to also work. But I think that it's going to be nice to see. I think Kyoto is a sure starter. It's going to be a rotation between Camara and Toy when you play with two up front. So yeah, no, I kind of like it. I like also, and again, I think a lot of people are not okay with what I'm about to say, but Piet Wanyama, for me, it's really a good duo in the middle. And we've seen that. I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about it a bit later, but it's been very, very, very interesting yesterday.
Yeah, and Montreal started in this game flying. In the fourth minute of play, Wanyama turned, he passed to Miljevic, who sent Kyoto free down the left wing, and his cross found Camara, who was denied by a fantastic save by Alex Bono. That was probably the start that Montreal was looking for. Hady, did you have the feeling that Wilfried Nancy was anxious to see his team start very strong yesterday?
It was important. I think it was important to get the crowd going. It was very important. So yeah, usually when you play in a home game, you want to make sure that your players comes, really really strong at first because you want to get the crowd going. The earliest you score, the better it is because pressure grows and grows and grows on the opponent if you score early. And when the pressure grows, then unfortunately, you're unfortunately like it's a good thing that your opponent starts to crumble and the pressure becomes greater and greater. So yeah, for sure, I was expecting that. That was the game plan. I think it always should be the game plan when you play at home, and
Yeah, and we
because yeah, the more you wait to score, the bigger the pressure is, and the more you get scored on.
yeah, but Montreal, you have to give that they've had mostly some good starts at home. Yes, there were some games that were more difficult, but in general, we do get off to some good starts at home, so that's reassuring. But Eve, we all know your penchant for some pessimism. Were you worried when you saw Montreal lacking finishing at the start, or were you relieved that we were getting quality chances?
No, I was overall relieved because I think the most important thing was for Montreal to prove that the Derby win was important for them, is important for them, and to really make sure that they are imposing their style on Toronto. So overall, I think honestly, Alex Bono was standing on his head for the most part. And if it hadn't have been for him, certainly I think Montreal probably would have gone in with a 1 or 2 goal lead at halftime. But the chances that they were creating were nice. They were good. They looked great. And you felt like it was gonna come. I didn't feel like it was a cursed night.
Well, in the 21st minute, Toronto newcomer Mark Anthony Kay got an opportunity at goal. It was for a tough angle, though, from about 18 yards out, and Pat Temis did very well to save it. Now, the narrative among fans was that defenders seem uneasy, even sometimes nervous in front of Breza. Did you guys have the feeling that Pantemis' presence brought in some calm into that backline?
I think, yeah, it definitely seemed less frantic. That's the word that comes to my mind first. It didn't seem panicky, and it felt like there was method to the madness when they were setting up on set pieces and whatnot. And I got the gist that he felt relatively in control, and then that was being transmitted, obviously, to the rest of the outfield players.
Hady?
It's funny because at one point, I had Julien from CanFC next to me, and at one point he looks at me and he's like, "Do you see that back pass from Camacho to Pentemes? If it was Breza, he never would have given the pass." I was like, "Yeah, you know what? It felt like the players, the back line had a bit more trust in Pentemes. It's weird because last year it was the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels so. I think this year, I think that." The squad maybe lost confidence in Breza's ability to play from the back. And now I think Pentemis is the guy they trust. You know what? Fortune changes, right? So,
Yeah, and Montreal was keeping the ascendancy on the game. And a few minutes following Pantemis' save, the midfielders combined well, and Matko Miljevic found himself on goal, but his shot lacked power, and Bono made an easy save. Yves, what did you think of Matko's performance today and his ability to combine with Piet Wanyama and the strikers?
I really liked it. I don't know if he knew that maybe Georgi Mihailovic was coming back, and he was like, "Oh no, my time is coming. I really gotta leave my best impression before I get relegated back to the bench." I don't know if that was part of it, but yeah, especially that sequence where he did kind of sneak past the defenders, and he eventually let off a really tame shot. For me, that was really really great sequence of play. It was really interesting to watch And I said, "Oh my gosh, Matko, you're coming along. Maybe it will be this decade."
And Hady, now that Georgie is back into the picture, like Yves said, the auditions for that out and out number 10 spots are virtually over. But who of Kone, Hamdi, and Miljevic made the best impression, in your opinion?
It is Miljevic. It
Yeah,
is
I think
Miljevic
so.
because Kone's better when he plays next to Wanyama.
Yeah.
For me, like, yeah, he cannot play that forward role. He's maybe better on the wing when he plays forward. Now, Matko, I think, has a lot of potential. The problem, he has two problems. First of all, he doesn't take quick decisions, and he needs to be quicker. His decision making has to be very quick because he has the vision. Sometimes he hesitates a lot. Sometimes he thinks he has more time on the ball, and that's not the case.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. And the second thing that he needs to do, and that's very important also, he needs physically to really get the work. He's sometimes a bit too weak. I think physically, acceleration wise, also he needs to be able to pick up the pace like directly. That's something he needs to work on his on his athleticism in order to get the better acceleration. So those two things, if he get them, he's going to be an amazing player because I think that technically he's one of the most gifted players that we have in the squad. It's as simple as that.
And he has a very good ability to combine with players. Like you saw him combine a few times with Victor Wanyama and with the strikers, and that takes some very good vision to see these openings. And one thing I think that Matko Miljevic has shown through that quote unquote addition that he had is that he is very, very good at finding half spaces and exploiting them. And we have Alexandre Joly, who hits us with Matko was being covered by Bradley, who is now too slow to be a number 6 for a top team. Yeah, but
I think that did definitely work to his advantage last night.
For sure, but that's Toronto's problem, not ours. But yeah, for sure it helped. You're going to put Matko against a very good number 6. It's not going to be that easy. And we saw him struggle in games with better defensive midfielders in front of him. Patrick asks us, can you learn quick thinking, or is it something that you get once you fully understand the players around you?
Oh, that's a very good question.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit of both.
I was going to say.
Yeah, go ahead, Eve. Go ahead.
No, please. I think definitely it is something that, you can develop those kind of automatic habits that you pick up, those little idiosyncrasies that you pick up, and you can become more aware of them. But obviously in a soccer game, there's so many moving pieces, so many X factors, so many questions. And you can't necessarily plan your quick thoughts, if you will, plan your quick moves, plan your tricks, whatever. So I think it is, for me, it's really mainly something, once you understand the players around you, you can kind of maybe have 2 or 3 solutions when you have the ball in your head. And because you know those players well, you have a good idea of where they might be available or what solutions and what assistance they're able to offer you.
I agree with Eve. That's very important to know the players around you. But I think also that with the experience, you are able to judge and to guess player movement a lot faster. And that's with experience. He's a young lad, guys. He's 21. He hasn't played a lot of pro soccer. I think just give him a bit of time. And we've seen an improvement already from his first game with CF Montreal this year and now. He's a lot quicker in his decision making. I think he's gonna get there. He just needs minutes, a lot of minutes. He needs time on the ball. He needs time, on the pitch with that team. And it doesn't matter who the players are. Just getting the playing time is gonna help him a lot.
Yeah, and to answer Patrick's question, my answer would be kind of, there's only as much as your vision can bring you. Once you've maybe plateaued at where your vision can bring you on the pitch, now you need to be part of that system, and how you're gonna work with your teammates. And I remember when Kai Kamara started in Montreal, he talked about how difficult he found it to understand some of the way players would pass him the ball, or even I think it was Victor Wanyama saying that Kai had a very particular way of asking for the ball and making runs. So these are things that will come in time when you're working in training, when you putting the work in the games. The system, the what the coach asks is obviously comes into play. But I think it's all of this together that makes it work. So to answer your question, Patrick, it's a bit of everything, really. But everything is important to that solution. So there you go. Guys, back to the game. One midfielder who's having a very good run of form these days is Samuel Piet, and he got a few chances in the first half, but none better than his chance in the 35th minute that just whistled wide of the post. I just want to hear you guys on Sam Piet's performance yesterday. The player who was the most nominated for CanFC's Saputo d'Or. I'll start with you, Hady, because you've been defending Sam Piet for years now against all of his haters. What did you have to say on Sam Piet's performance?
First of all, he played a more forward role than a typical number 6. He created exactly what was expected of him, and we're going to talk about it in a section of the presser, because that was one of my questions for Nancy. Created what was expected from him, and also he showed willingness to maybe score a goal, and more than willingness, he was very, very close. And that shot that whistled, like, I think
the one that Bono tipped over.
No, the other one after the other one that it was a hair.
Like it was like, you can blame him, but can you really blame him? It's a bit of both. I'm like, I think that even in the press box, like everybody, like nobody was able to just not say anything and not react to that mischance. I think he was very, very good. He complemented Victor Wanyama very, very well. Of course, I'm talking about this in a general manner. Of course, there are some sequences that were a bit kind of weird. I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about it a bit later. But yeah, I love this game. I really, really love this game. This guy is, defensively already, he's something else. And he's getting better. I think he's understanding Nancy's system, and Nancy is really trusting him with that role ahead of Kone, ahead of Hamdi, ahead of Chouanière, ahead of all those players, because he's that good and he deserves his place now.
Yves.
Yeah, no, it was definitely, it kind of reminded me a little bit of the role that he played when Thierry Henry was in charge, because Piet went out wide to the right-hand side of the pitch quite often in this game. And like, if you check out his heat map even, and it's all green along the right side of the pitch. So it reminded me a lot of that, but I got the gist that he put on his big game boots yesterday for sure. He scored one time, of course, against Toronto at home last year, and that was fantastic and memorable, and I'm sure he would have liked to have done a second time as well. But really interesting, and I think his shooting's getting better, guys. I think he's getting closer. He's getting closer. We're not going to the moon anymore.
For me, Sam Piet was by far Montreal's best player yesterday, and he put in a real captain shift. He was very inspirational for his teammates, and he got knocked down very early in the game, and I thought his game was over. He came back and kind of played better afterwards. It was pretty unreal, and he was bruised, banged up, but there's a lot of things that we say on Piet. Defensively is this. He's a good number 6 and stuff. But yesterday, Piet was very good in transition when we did have the ball, and he played some beautiful through balls for the wingers. He sent Lapalainen through a few times. He sent Kyoto through a few times, and these were things that we didn't see from him at all in the past. He really brought this into his game. So it's very cool to see that a player, who's probably peaking in his career. He's at the age that players usually peak, but he's still getting really good, really better. And there was a year ago we were questioning if Sam Piet would still have a role to play in Montreal going forward, given how technical we were starting to play, and that it was less of a disruptive type of midfield we wanted. We wanted a more technical, a more finessed midfield, but Sam Piet is giving that too. So I just want to shout him out, because he really adapted his game, and he kept his he kept his identity while adapting his game, and this is not something easy for any players. So good on Piet. At halftime, the score was 0-0, but Montreal had dominated in every aspect of the game. Hady, did you feel any adjustments were needed at halftime?
No, just a bit more luck.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
a bit more luck in front of the goal because Bono made a really good save in front of Kamara. I know that a lot of people are really pointing Kamara, saying, he should have scored.
It
The
was a
guy.
really good save.
Yeah.
It was a very good
Brilliant.
save. Yeah, of course, you could have put it in the top net or anything, but it's easy to say when the save is already done, right? So I don't think that it was a mistake from Kamara on that chance. I just think that Bono was in a good day, and unfortunately our strikers weren't in the best of form, but I couldn't really blame them. So I was like, you know what, it's gonna go in at one point, and if it doesn't around the 60th, then you change things up, because if it's going, I don't know who should be punished at halftime after that dominant first half. In my opinion, I don't know if you guys agree, but
Yeah, but Eve, if you were Wilfred Nancy at halftime, would you be satisfied with what you witnessed in the first half, like going
Overall,
into your halftime speech and stuff?
yeah, aside from the scoreline, honestly, overall, yeah. I think they held up really well. Montreal were getting a lot of good chances. 4 shots on target that, the keeper had to work to save for sure, and they were getting all kinds of opportunities, and Toronto had been really limited in what they were able to produce. I'm not a fan of the possession stat. It's my least favorite stat in all of football, but Montreal was also dominating, certainly, the possession. They were, and of course that's going to tire out the opposition if the opposition does have to
Yes.
keep working to try and win the ball back. And so if I'm Wilfred Nancy, I'm feeling pretty optimistic for the second half, barring any crazy turns.
Yeah, and the start of the second half was more of what happened in the first, and in the 60th minute, the score was still 0-0, and Nancy proceeded to a double change. So off came Kai Kamara and Matko Miljevic, and on came Mason Toye and Georgi Mihalovic to a massive ovation. People were very happy to see him back on the pitch. The breakthrough finally came in the 69th minute. It was a good combination by Piet and Johnston, started by Mihalovic's hustle in the corner, that open space on the right. Johnston then delivered a super ball at the back post, and Kyoto beat McNaughton in the air and put Montreal ahead. If you were in section 127 right in front of that goal, can you describe the moment from your vantage point?
It was pretty awesome. We saw that kind of like ballooning type cross from Johnston coming in, and I did initially honestly think that Kyoto had scored. Just from my angle, it was just how it looked, right? Because he was even behind the defender who scored the own goal, so I was almost blind to the defender, and it was phenomenal. Like watching him get that leap at the far post, and the poor defender in front of him. Unfortunately, there was nothing he could do. If he didn't try to touch the ball in some way, Kyoto was clearly going to score a header. And unfortunately, damned if you do, damned if you don't, right?
Yeah.
But no,
And
it was awesome.
Hady, yeah, of course. Hady, Wilfred Nancy talked about tactical adjustments for this game. I think it's safe to say that it was a success, with that goal being the proof, right?
oh yeah, 100%, 100%. And I loved when he talked about the tactical adjustments. He was trying to overload the sides, and in order to liberate the other side, the opposing side. So Piet was playing more on the right and trying to outnumber the Toronto defenders on the right and liberate Lassie, Victor, and Matko
Yeah.
on the left. And it worked so well, because that's exactly what happened every time. And on that goal, I know we're talking about Piet and we're talking about everything, and you said that Piet for you was man of the match. I'm sorry, I loved the game of Samuel Piet and one of his biggest defenders, but for me, the man of the match was Alistair Johnston. He was everywhere. Crosses, defensive plays, offensive plays. I think he gave 6 or 7 crosses that were top notch.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was everywhere. And I looked at Julien at one point, and I'm like, man, this guy's going to Europe like now. I don't know, but like
Put him on the plane right away, man.
he's flying, man. He's flying.
Yeah.
He's out of this world. He's really the best player of the squad.
Yeah, and I think Wilfred Nassi on this game really got it well. Is
Yeah,
he knew that he had the quality more on the right with crosses coming in for Johnston, but the importance was to be able to create space for Johnston to get these balls in. So this is when Piet comes in important because he drifts out now. He creates an overload, so players can't go tighter on the ball carrier. So Johnston was free to cross the ball almost every time, and I think that's where the idea of starting Kai Kamara came from,
yeah,
because you wanted that presence in the air against. We can say it, I think, a very weak center back pairing of McNaughton and
Yeah.
O'Neill for Toronto. So now you have the aerial presence, you have the height, you have the talent over Toronto. The importance is just to get the ball in. And that was the problem with Montreal. Sometimes our wingbacks were isolated, unable to get these crosses in. So bringing Piet out on the right and creating these overloads really gave the opportunity for Montreal to get these quality balls in, and that's exactly on what we scored. So, we talk about Wilfred Nassi every week here, and sometimes we're critical, sometimes we're neutral. Often we're critical. I think we can say it that way, but I think his game plan was on point for Toronto. It was really on point. Patrick hit us with a question, and this is interesting because now we're sending flowers to Wilfred Nassi, but his game plan did came with a price. Patrick says, I know CF Montreal got a clean sheet last night, but we still had some scary moments. The backline was chasing, like on the Akinola offside. How do we fix that? Tweak the system? Better center backs? Question mark. Could the difference between sneaking into the playoffs and winning a couple of runs? Could be the difference. I'm sorry. So, Patrick, I decided to just break it down tactically a bit. Your question.
We have one of those tactical lessons, like Eve likes to say,
Yeah.
and I have an introductory segment video for it. So let's do this.
Boy. No, Hady, man. And
Is that the font from SpongeBob?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a font that I found, and he's the tactical genius, so we have to give it to him.
I don't like that word, but
you're a genius, man. Go ahead.
Come on. So first slide on. So here, so Montreal. I think Montreal are the most vulnerable in transition. When we lose the ball, and the opposition can attack us when our players are out of position because we committed bodies up the pitch to play. So here, the situation is the three players that are in red are midfielders. So Georgi Mihailovic at the right of the screen, Saint-Pierre on the bottom, and Victor Wanyama is completely out on the top of the screen, which results in being on the left of the pitch. So the ball is where the two Toronto players are in front of Saint-Pierre. So Saint-Pierre, a bit like Ismael Kone last week when we did our tactical breakdown, Saint-Pierre doesn't take the information behind his back. So Saint-Pierre is caught ball watching, and he's drawn into kind of aggressively on the two players who have the ball. So this, first of all, is a mistake because he won't win the ball off two players. So ideally, if Sam doesn't take the information, at least he should just back off and protect his space. Now he goes in aggressive and he leaves the center of the pitch completely open, like the little arrow shows, where probably Piet should have drifted. So this is the space that is left available for Toronto. It's a boulevard, and the Toronto player sees Bradley in that boulevard. So here, Saint-Pierre, you can see his body language, kind of realizes that he's not in the right position and probably goes, oh no. Now Victor Wanyama is at the top of the screen, and there's the problem, there's no one to take these spaces, and Wanyama can be a bit at fault on this, but not too much, because he was involved in the previous play that we didn't show, going very high up the pitch on that left flank. So here you are with Toronto having a lot of space here. So Bradley takes the ball, and the next play is... So now what we see here is that Michael Bradley has all the time in the world to take a decision. Akinola makes his run, and Kamal Miller, who's circled in red, is the player that saves the goal because he does see across the back line that Camacho and Waterman are level. So he stops his back run, if we want, to keep Akinola off. Now, the reason why Camacho doesn't jump and put pressure on the ball carrier is because there's the player behind Joel Waterman that's attacking. So where I think the mistake was made, it was that Sampiet was sucked into the first ball, but Victor Wanyama never realized that he had to cut in the center, because if you look at it closely, Wanyama is taking Lassie's player and Lassie is taking Miller's player. So everyone is kind of out of position, and Bradley makes his pass to Akinola, and thank God Akinola was offside. Now, why I think, to answer your question, Patrick, it's more of a tactical problem than an individual defensive problem, is that the idea, like we said 5 minutes ago, was to create overloads. When you do that, you're going to put some players out of position. And don't forget, we're playing with a 3-man midfield. So when you commit players into these overloads, obviously there's going to be spaces. So this has been our main tactical defensive problem this year, in my opinion, is that when we do look for these overloads that Wilfred Nancy really, really looks for in his system, we leave our midfield completely exposed. And this goal would have been, as good as the goal that Kyoto scored looked on Nancy's system. This would have been exactly the opposite on the negative spectrum. So yeah, it's just a question of, maybe sometimes you say, could we go with maybe more of a flat 4 midfield, so that even though you commit players to overloads, you have that body in the middle where Piet should have been. But Piet was drifting right often, so defensively maybe he got caught a bit in thinking that that was his position. I don't know, but there was definitely a lot of mistakes on that. But the principal mistake, I think, was that, yes, the system was very, very focused on creating wide overloads, but this is going to leave you exposed in the middle of the pitch. So
Yeah, you know what? I kind of agree with you, but that's why what I really love on that play is that the defenders really read the play. You talked about Kamal Miller, playing the offside, and knowing that you're playing in that system, you need central defenders that are gonna guess and are gonna get it right, and
yeah.
they did. They played the offside and it worked, and that's exactly what you need to do. If you're gonna get yourself exposed in the middle, make sure that your central defenders either go out on the player that has the ball when you don't have a lot of support. In this case, you had a lot of support. The only thing that you can do is hope that they play the through ball, and if they play the through ball, you play the offside. So I think that they played very well. I think I could point at the mistake on Michael Bradley, and if I was in his position, I would have taken the ball forward, and you have four players to whom you can
Oh
give
yeah.
the pass. So it's a lot better to really go on with the play, because your two midfielders are gone. The two midfielders are from Montreal, so the defense is left exposed. So I think that in this situation, at least we had the defense that really played it well, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. But that's the thing, is that you need to rely on these very, very critical, quick decisions by center backs. And if Michael Bradley releases the ball half a second earlier, Akinola scores a legit goal. So it's dangerous to play, that way, but it works. So you can't criticize. But Patrick asked us the question, we provided the answer. So I hope that that answered your question, Patrick. Back to the game, guys. In the 80th minute, Nancy proceeded to another substitution when he brought Alistair Johnson off for Zachary Bourguillard. And 1 minute later, Kamal Miller was sent off for a second bookable offense. So Gabriele Corbo was introduced in the place of Romel Kyoto to keep a similar shape in defense. Just want to hear you guys, was it a bit harsh on Miller, or was it a deserved red card for you guys? Eve?
It was obviously it was a second yellow, so it
Yeah.
was a deserved yellow. I mean, I think realistically, probably if it had been any player other than the goalkeeper, it might not have been a card. Goalkeepers are definitely more protected in the league and in all soccer leagues, I believe. they do kind of benefit from a lot of getting a lot more called, I think, against like fouls against them than perhaps outfield players. Particularly if the ball is in their general vicinity, as it was in this case. So I can understand why it was given, but yeah, I think it was a little bit harsh. It was just a silly moment to try a bicycle kick anyway.
Yeah, that's it. Kamal Miller didn't help himself, you know. He put
No.
himself into that. So I don't know, Hady.
Listen, in my opinion, it was harsh. I think that you have to read the moments in a game, and it seems like you know Ted Uncle forgot that he gave a yellow to Kamal Miller, and it's a gray area. Do you give a yellow card or you don't? I think it's for the ref to really take the pulse of the game and see if it's really a deserved yellow or not. In this case, yes, it was a bit dangerous, but Miller didn't really it wasn't really aggressive, and he didn't. It wasn't close to a catastrophe. So I don't know. I think that the yellow was very, very harsh when you look at the game. But giving a yellow, it's not the wrong decision either. So it's really the gray area. In my opinion, Ted Ungle didn't read the play right, but you can't really point to anything. You can't really tell him that he made the wrong call because he didn't. So gray area for me.
Yeah, I think for the referee, I think we can give Ted Uncle the benefit of the doubt, but Kamal Miller as a center back who's on a yellow card, picking up another yellow 100 yards from your own goal is inexcusable. So I think he kind of made amends for it afterwards. He tweeted that he was sorry for the red card and he looked a bit disappointed by what happened. So I think he knew that he kind of messed up a bit, but yeah, the referee was maybe a bit trigger happy too. I don't know. There's a lot in there, but Montreal had to finish the game with 10 men, and they held on for the final 10 minutes and bagged the crucial trio of points to consolidate their fourth position in the East. Hady, you were at the presser after the game. What did Coach Nancy have to say?
Oh, we talked about, the animation. I think that was the most interesting thing that he said, the overload, on wide areas. I think that for me, it was the really interesting part of the presser. The rest, it's simple. A lot of questions on James Pantemis. Obviously, his answer was very neutral because, he doesn't want to put fuel on the fire because last week he was like, I think he threw Breza under the bus a bit. So I think he was just, trying to calm things down. And then again, he said, I always use the words in the moment when I say when I talk about every players on the pitch, and he felt that in this moment Pantemis was the right guy to be between the sticks, and he was right. He said they're very close in terms of level, like they're at the same level, but they're a bit different in the way they play. And now he needed a bit more James Pantemis, so that's something that's a bit interesting. He talked about Kansas and the Galaxy, saying that for him, his team was better than the opposition, and they still lost. We talked about the Kansas City game, and I agree with him.
I don't want to talk about it again.
I don't agree at all with the Galaxy game, but I agree with the Kansas City game. And last thing that he said, that he was happy for Georgie to be back. It was very difficult for him to be sidelined, and that's about it. I didn't go, unfortunately, to the players pressers because I didn't have time. Unfortunately, someone was waiting for me outside, so sorry about that.
Life happens. Eve, you were at your usual station in section 127. What did you think of the ambience at Stade Saputo, and what did you make of the first sold-out crowd since May 2018?
I think overall it was a really good ambiance. Definitely, of course, a lot of TFC fans showed up and tried to make it their house and stuff. And I think Montreal fans responded really well, for sure, by also being loud, which is something that we have maybe lacked the last couple of matches of it. So pleased with that. Pleased to see a sellout. Obviously, I think there were some disappointed Italian fans there. Perhaps I definitely saw a few Azzurri jerseys that I didn't know. Max Rakatansky asks if my arm is still blue. No, it came off in the shower. I got a when we set off our smoke after the goal. I was like right next to the thing, and so it got all over my arm.
Nice.
I was blue. I woke up this morning blue, actually, but thankfully that came off. But no, overall, I think it was really good vibes. Like talked to a lot of people at the tailgate, like pre and post game, and in the stands. A lot of really cool people. Had some great conversation with people I haven't talked to before, which was super fun.
Nice. So, guys, are we done for the Toronto game?
I think so.
We'll move on. We'll preview quickly the next Montreal game away to DC United, and we'll do our usual. Montreal will win if, and Montreal will lose if. So, who wants to start? I'll start if you're not ready.
No, I can start.
Yeah, go ahead, Eddie.
I don't mind. Montreal would win if they play exactly the same way that they played against Toronto with the same intensity, because they're going to need intensity. DC is in trouble, since the beginning of the season. But if they take control of the game and they just play with the same intensity, there's no way they're losing. Montreal will lose if Taxi Funtas just again.
He's so good, yo.
Again, just brings his magic to the game, because this guy is just unbelievable sometimes. So, Taxi Fuentes or Ola Camara, every time he plays,
he loves playing against us.
He loves playing against Montreal. I don't know if he still plays. I haven't watched any DC games lately.
Yeah,
so,
he's still there. He's still there.
I know he's there, but does he play? Is he on the starting 11?
Yeah. Starting 11, not always, but yeah.
Okay. So Taxi Fuentes and Case Camara is here. Just be careful on those two, and we should be able to get.
If you go, I go.
I'll go.
Go ahead.
Alrighty, Montreal will win if they have great chemistry with whatever attacking duo they put out front, be it Camara Toy, be it Kyoto Toy or Camara Kyoto. If they're able to find chemistry and play off each other and offer service similar to how they did, even though it didn't really end up leading to a goal, I think they'll have good luck. And Montreal will lose if Montreal look at this DC game and look at where DC are in the standings and think, oh, we should win this. Oh. If they don't take it as seriously as they should, because we can just as well talk about another trap game, I think.
Cool. I say Montreal win if we keep Alistair Johnston at right wing back, so we will replace Kamal Miller by either Gabriele Corbo or Robert Torkelson. I don't think we should put Johnston back at right center back and shift Waterman off to left center back. I think Johnston is really at his best at right wing back. So this is going to be an important thing. So how are we going to replace Kamal Miller? That's basically it. And I think we're going to lose if DC feel the Rooney effect. He's rumored to start his coaching stint with DC against us next week. I didn't see any confirmation yet that he would be on the bench or if he's going to be in the stands still watching, but he's definitely going to have an effect on this team now that he's arrived in Washington. So if there's a kind of Rooney effect that players want to show their worth, and just the team galvanized by the arrival of a new manager, maybe it could hurt us. So if we replace Kamal Miller the right way, we win. If the Rooney effect operates, we lose. So that's what's up. Guys, I just wanted to get a word on Mauro Biello. He's been introduced to the Wall of Fame. He's the fourth name on the Wall of Fame. Just a little breakdown of his amazing career. He made his pro debut at the age of 19 with the Montreal Supra in 1991. played for the Montreal franchise, which became the Impact in 1993 for 7 years. During these years, he would also play professional indoor soccer during the winter with the Buffalo Blizzard for 2 seasons. In 1999, he left the Impact as the club pulled out of playing outdoor seasons, so he joined Rochester, a season in which he scored 8 goals in 28 games. He was back in Montreal for the 2000 outdoor season, where he would stay on another 9 years. He scored 40 goals in 235 games, and he captained the club to championships in 2004 and 2009, plus Voyageurs Cups from 2002 to 2008. He then became assistant coach for the Montreal Impact from 2012 to 2015 before taking over for Frank Lopez. He led Montreal to the Eastern Conference semifinal and the Eastern Conference final in 2016 and was sacked following a playoff miss at the end of the 2017 season. All in all, a club legend, and he's the only player to have his gold old number 20 retired at the club. I just wanted to hear you guys on a general thought on the man and maybe your best memory of Mauro Biello. I'll start with you, Hedy.
Listen, unfortunately, I wasn't really watching the Impact when he was a player. Um, I watched him as a coach. That's usually where I know him, and I don't know him as a player, unfortunately. And as a coach, what I really liked about it is that he's a motivator. He's someone that really can bring out the best in players, and that's the reason why we were able to go far under him at the helm. Uh, the I think we had very good players when he was a coach, and he was able to bring the best in them. And yes, there was the whole incident with Drogba, Mancosu, and everything.
Yeah.
But you know what? At that point, at that time, Mancosu was in a really good form. So
Yeah.
it's hard, yes, to put the legend aside, but I like the fact that Mauro brings the best out of his players, and for me, that's the main, the main reason why I love this guy as a human being, not only as a player and a coach.
Eve.
My favorite memory is when Montreal won 1-0 at Toronto FC, down a man.
Wow.
And when, because not being able to win at BMO Field had hung over Montreal's head so much. And so when you were watching it on TV, you actually saw Mauro Biello. He was teary-eyed a little bit coming onto the field, and you could see how much it meant to him. Because, of course, he's been with Montreal for forever. And obviously that was a really hard fought battle for his players. That's a match my mom and we rewatched that dozens and dozens and dozens of times.
That was when Malas got that red card and Piatti scored.
Yeah,
What a
yeah,
game
exactly.
that was.
Yeah, and there was Ambrosi Younga was throwing his body in front of 50 million shots.
Oh,
I just remember him flinging legs, and Hernan Bernadello was beating the pitch against Skulls. It was anyway. You could tell how much though it meant to Mauro Biello to win that epic match. It meant a lot to him, and you know exactly how much Montreal means to this guy.
Yeah, no, he's a legend. When I remember him playing because we used to go to Centre Rabia often, and they used. I know they played a lot on Fridays, so it was really cool because we had our week. I was in Sported Soccer, so we would train all week and finish the week going on Fridays to Claude Rabillard and watch the Impact play. And Mauro Biello was obviously the star of this team. He was the captain, and he did come on pretty often. He was coming once a week at one point to be a bit of a drill coach for us. So when he was still playing with Montreal, he gave a lot of time, and he came. Was doing a lot of shooting drills and things for forwards. I was a defender, so it wasn't my favorite drills, but it was often really awesome to see a professional player so close. And I remember how down to earth he was, because we obviously were a bit starstruck when he came and started coaching us, and he was playing it so cool and such a nice guy, and he would speak to everyone and take time for everyone. So when he did retire and started with coaching for Montreal and eventually got the head coach job when Frank Lopez was fired, I was rooting for him so hard because I knew what a cool dude he was, and such a down to earth guy. And I was just wondering, the only thing that kept creeping into my mind was, would he be able to bring that attitude to adults, professional adults? um, and listening to a lot of players that played for him, he definitely did, and he was able to bring the best out of his personality while adjusting to speaking to grown men who were playing, some for million of dollars and others for for north of most normal people make money. So yeah, I was rooting so hard for him, and he brought us some awesome moments. These playoff runs were great, and it's just a shame a bit how he left, because his departure was kind of lost between Patrice Bernier's retirement and the hiring of Rémi Garde. So seeing him really have his moment, it was awesome, because he looked almost shy that people were just throwing accolades at him and compliments, but he deserved all of them. So he's a really a club legend, as simple as that for me. Guys, another little news that came out this week: Kamal Miller is going to the All-Star game. He's the only CF Montreal player invited this year. Interestingly, he wasn't chosen by the fan vote or by the coaches vote, but by League Commissioner Don Garber, who only had vetoed 2 votes, and one of his was Kamal Miller. It's the first time in his career he's been selected. The game will be played at Allianz Field in Minnesota against Liga MX All-Star teams. Guys, I'll start with you, Eve. Happy for Kamal. Did you think it was well deserved for him?
Yeah, I think it was. I don't know, who else maybe was in consideration. Obviously, maybe Georgi Mihailovic would have been up for nomination if he hadn't been injured, just prior to guess selection season. But overall, yeah, quite happy for him. I think it was really good to have a representative of the Canadian men's national team, given the historic success they've experienced this year. And I appreciate as well, I think maybe Don Garber was keeping an eye on the success that we've been having so far this season, knock on wood.
Truly.
And yeah, really grateful. To me, like him or Alistair Johnston, I think would have been an excellent selection.
Hady.
Yeah, listen, it's funny because, just the way Don Garber doesn't have a veto on players. He has 2 choices that he can choose. So the way MLS is done, you have players that are chosen by fans, you have players that are chosen by media, and Don Garber has 2 choices that he can make. So it's not really a veto; it's his baby.
Okay.
So he's allowed 2 choices. But yeah, you know what? Don Garber, his job is to make sure that the teams that are less publicized or less known get a player, and the best player, they get their best players there, and that's what usually Montreal is, right? Like, we don't have that big star, but Kamal Miller has been pretty good. I would have liked to see Alistair Johnston. For me, he's the one that really was a lot better than Kamal Miller, but Kamal Miller had the highlight reels, right? So with that double contact and the cross at one point, and he's a more all-star type of player, right? So so I kind of understand it, and he's a very good player, of course. So I kind of understand, and of course we're going to talk about it a bit later, but there's the big question mark about the other guy that should have been there, and we'll talk about it a bit later if you want to, Sam. One last thing, I need to tell you that those votes are really not. I don't like it the way it's done, because it's the bigger fan base that wins in a way. Because in MLS, in North America, usually, you're concentrated on your team, and you don't really see what's going on elsewhere. And so when you're about to vote, you vote for your players. Pretty sure here in Montreal, everybody voted for only Montreal players, which is kind of normal, kind of way in North America. You don't vote for the best players; you vote for your players, just for them to get a shot, right? So it's a bit weird the way it's done. So that's why usually you only see, the LA teams and the Atlanta teams usually get a lot more votes. Now Atlanta is very bad this year, so that's why it's maybe there's not a lot of Atlanta players. But usually it's the reason why I don't really like All-Star games.
Yeah, I guess just before we move on to the women national team, we'll put up in GF Rousseau's question right now because we're in the CF Montreal segment, so we'll go right into it. So GF Rousseau asks us if Wanyama leaves this summer, who would you put together as your strongest midfielders unit? Yeah, that's a tough one. Assuming we keep exactly the same tactical setup, I guess.
Yeah.
So we need 3 midfielders. Guys, whenever you're ready, I'll go if you're ready.
But you need 2 midfielders, right? Because like the offensive guy is not going to change, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's Georgie, right? So
yeah, it's Georgie or
that's
Matko
a
if
given.
Georgie's not here, so
Yeah.
that's a given, right? So for me, it's the duo.
Yeah.
You know, Wanyama and Piet now. So for me, it's Piet Chouanier.
Me too.
I think that's
Likewise.
Okay. That's easy, man.
You have your answer, man, GF. So
And Chan has a question though. Why would Wanyama leave? Well, Wanyama is his contract
his
is
final
up in
year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
his contract is up in December. But he did say though that he would consider Montreal if the money is right, if the terms are right. Montreal is first on his list.
Yeah, but don't forget what Olivier Renard said in the presser. He said we're going to have to evaluate if we want to invest that money on someone else. So I kind of feel that Olivier Renard is going to play the Boyan card in a way.
Yeah.
Like try to keep Wanyama maybe as a TAM player. And I would love that if it works, but will Wanyama accept?
Yeah.
Well, you should ask LAFC how they did.
Oh man! By the way, did you see that? Ernest Tanner was the sporting director of the Union, the Philadelphia Union.
Oh yeah.
Said like he really.
Well, he asked the question. Yeah.
He's like, I really don't believe it. There's something fishy there. And he just got fined by the MLS for his inappropriate comments. So
that's why Olivier Renard was walking on eggs when he was answering these questions. He knew. He knew. Guys.
But we didn't talk about Georgie missing the All-Star game, right? So
yeah, Georgie. Wow. I mean,
that's like for me, not really the biggest mistake of all.
Well, I think the only reason why Georgie is not going to the All-Star game is because he was injured when the voting was happening. Because he's people weren't sure when he was coming back, so they kind of just forgot about him. I think when it was time to vote.
Also, like, well, a lot of the fan vote in particular goes to if you want the shiny attacking players, and so. You can't just field a squad of attacking-based players, which is, I think, what the fan vote would have happen. So I think then, by default, sort of the coach's pick has to be a little bit more well-rounded, and so then where do you jam in Georgie? It would have to be under like a commissioner's pick, and like I said, I think Don Garber sort of tipped his hat to Canada a little bit with his commissioner's pick. And Sean Johnson being another one.
Because now Canada is trendy, right? So
we're far from perfect.
True, but for him it's trendy. So he's like, "Oh, we have Canadian teams." Now he woke up and remembered that we have Canadian teams in the MLS, right?
Yeah, we're no longer a mal nécessaire like
exactly. We're no longer, the Black Ducks. Can we say that in English?
I have no idea. Do you mean black sheep?
The black sheep.
Black sheep. It's just, in French you say black duck.
Oh, okay. Today I learned.
So I think that's the only reason why Georgie isn't there. So guys, let's move on to the women national team because there's some good stuff to say about the women because they're headed to the final of the CONCACAF Championship against the United States tomorrow on Monday. The winner of this game, in addition to winning the championship, qualifies automatically to the 2024 Olympics and the Gold Cup, while the second and third place team will advance to the CONCACAF Olympic playoffs. To get to the final, they did have to defeat a Jamaican team in the semis that came to play really,
Mm-hmm.
but they were just not on the level really to threaten Canada. So Eve, hit us with, what was your appreciation of Canada's work?
Man, Adriana Leon was ready.
Oh
When she
yeah.
got subbed in, she was like, I'm here.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Definitely again, you could tell that the teams that Canada has faced, like they've gotten stronger as the tournament has gone on. So obviously we'd say Trinidad and Tobago was the weakest, and definitely Jamaica was on a different level than the teams within the group stage.
Yeah.
So they did definitely put up a solid effort to actually play and not just CONCACAF their way through the match and maybe get lucky for penalties or something. So definitely appreciate that. But again, I mean, Canada took a little while once again, but Alicia Chapman got a goal. I don't know what to say there, but it was honestly, it was a fantastic goal. Like
Oh, yeah.
between
It was awesome.
between the cross
Awesome.
from Adriana Leon
Yeah.
and then the goal was amazing. Jessie Fleming as well, like a salmon on the header.
Yeah.
What's up with headers and Canada and the women's national team? Like the shortest players scoring
I
headers.
That
don't
Fleming
You know,
know.
Alicia
brilliant
Chapman
header.
and Jessie Fleming.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell, man? What's going
Yeah.
on? What
But-
did you put in your soup? You know?
Yeah, seriously. I need recipe. No, and then of course, I mean, and like credit to Ashley Lawrence on the cross for that goal as well.
Yeah.
It did take a deflection on the way through, but the work she put in to get down to deliver that cross was again, a world class effort for me. And then I think like I said, Adriana Leon really, really, really seized her chance when she got subbed on. She was extremely impactful in the game. She created a lot of dangerous opportunities, and then by the end of it, she was well rewarded with her goal.
I think that also Leon, when the fact that she scored is liberated her in a way because she hadn't scored for a while for Canada, so
Yeah.
it liberated her. So I have a feeling that Leon could be a very good player
Oh yeah.
for Canada. She's an experienced player, but she's not old. She's like I think 28 or something like that. So yeah, I like her energy. I really like her energy, and that final is a bit of a prestige game to get that title, of course, but also
Yeah.
get the Olympics. But even if Canada loses, I don't want them to lose. But even if they lose, the CONCACAF playoff is going to be played against either Costa Rica or Jamaica.
It should be okay.
So,
Yeah.
which should be okay, exactly.
I'm just interested to see how Bev sets up, because I think she's been criticized a bit for being a bit too defensive minded,
Yeah.
and Julia Grosso is having a fantastic tournament, but we usually see Quinn, Scott, and Fleming in that midfield. So I'm just wondering if, against the US, when of course they're gonna be a threat, are you gonna try maybe to surprise them and go a bit more offensive minded, or are you gonna go back to your roots and go Quinn, Scott, and Fleming? Because I'd really love to see Grosso maybe get a shot at starting the game, maybe in place of.
I've been
of
watching
Desiree
that
Scott.
the entire tournament and it
Yeah.
hasn't happened, so I'm admitting defeat.
How do you
I
think?
would be super surprised.
If it's Quinn and Grosso with Fleming,
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
It's not
Not
gonna
against the US. Not against the US. And then I think it would be kind of foolish to do so because, just against the US, you need that defensive midfielder because I don't know, man. They're the best the best team in the world, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think that the Canadian national team is there yet. I just want to say, we've talked about, the team. I even said, I think last week that we need to go to 2022 and, keep, Sophie Schmidt, aside and keep Desiree Scott aside and Alicia Chapman aside, and Chapman scores a goal.
Yeah.
Sophie Schmidt scores
Yeah.
a goal. So mea culpa to the girls. I'm sorry about that. You still got it seems. And Sophie Schmidt realized something really nice, guys. 3 goals in 3 different decades.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
crazy.
He's only the 3rd player to achieve that, and
Mm-hmm.
and that's such a great achievement. Very intelligent player. I still don't think that she has a place in the Canadian national team. Hopefully,
No,
she
in
score against the U.S.
Yeah,
Now that I
exactly.
said it, right?
there you
So
go.
yeah.
And guys, there was some news coming out of that ever messed up pay compensation
Oh,
situation from
Yeah.
the national teams. And Eve, you got us for this one, so tell us what
Yeah.
happened, because I think it started this week. The turmoil started with Rick Westhead's
Yeah.
article that came out, and after everything ensued. So, what you got for us?
Yeah, exactly. So Rick West had posted an article or published, I guess, an article for TSN, kind of airing some of that dirty laundry that was answering a lot of the questions that people had asked ever since, the initial dispute happened last month with the men's national team, and this whole Canada soccer business came out of kind of left field, right? So in that, we learned a lot about how the Canada Soccer business deal was struck with Canada Soccer itself, and unfortunately, the details were not fantastic. To begin with, the part of the details are that they didn't actually properly approve the deal. The board actually said like their approval was subject to getting some information from Canada Soccer business, which they never actually got. But the deal somehow went through anyway. And that was some former board members who were quoted in that article as saying that. And then as well, the deal is for 10 years, and they give Canada Soccer an annual payment of that will max out at $3.5 million a year. But then Canada Soccer business has the option to trigger another 10-year extension if they want to until 2037. And then those annual payments would max out at $4 million. And Canada Soccer business also gets to keep all of the revenue from sponsorships, while Canada Soccer keeps ticket revenue. And it's just not pretty. It's not pretty at all. I think the length of time was really shocking, as well as kind of the amount of the payments. But unfortunately, like Earl Cochran was quoted in the article as saying, like, basically nobody else popped up to ask for rights. So it was sort of, this is the deal we were offered. Didn't really have any other options. It is what it is. But yeah, it feels pretty icky. Then there were a couple of other points that were mentioned in that article by Rick Westhead that, again, I think I won't go into too much detail on, but one was about Rianne Wilkinson being nominated for Canadian women's national team head coach, which wound up falling through. And then as well, there's looking into building a national training facility in Vaughan, but like exclusively in Vaughan, Ontario. And not offering competition to other cities. So anyway, that's the fastest rundown ever of that article, which is, it's a read, but it's a long one. And that, of course, then prompted the men's and women's national team players to...
Yeah, I was like, what the hell?
I got there. So that prompted another statement, because heaven forbid we go through like a week now without a statement from our national teams. And if you give me one moment, I can share with you the statement that they posted. So this is a joint statement between the men's and women's players. So it's not just one side or the other. Just give me 2 seconds here. And yes, it does come off with Hady. Also, just in between this as well, Canada Soccer did put out, they called it an update to be transparent with fans, but it was like clearly a response to the article, because it addressed like all of the points that the article go on. And I was like, okay, whatever. So they issued kind of something to refute the things that Rick Westhead had reported on, regarding the Canada Soccer business deal, regarding Bev Priestman's hiring, regarding the prize money distribution, which is obviously still an issue. And so then after this statement had gone out is when the players issued their joint statements. So I'll just read it quickly. I'll post it on the screen for those watching. So it said the players of the Canadian women's and men's national soccer teams are deeply troubled by the content of yesterday's article by Rick Westhead. This detailed account of the internal workings of Canada Soccer raises serious questions about how Canada Soccer has made and continues to make important decisions that affect not only our teams, but the future of soccer in Canada. If these decisions that Rick Westhead describes, I'm just going to skip, basically, why did Canada Soccer's board of directors not take immediate steps to reverse course and hold those responsible accountable? And then it said the statement issued by Canada Soccer in response to the article was also disturbing. While it was clearly issued, in response to Rick Westhead's article, the statement denies none of its contents. Instead of acknowledging the significant governance issues, Canada Soccer tries to unsuccessfully put a positive spin on what the article reveals. Since Canada Soccer does not acknowledge any problems with its governance or leadership, it also does not commit to addressing any of the problems identified in the article. Oh, okay. So then obviously talking about the importance, like where Canada is right now, because obviously people are more interested in Canada Soccer than ever before. However, Rick Westhead's article raises serious concerns about whether Canada Soccer can be a proper steward of our sport and the revenues associated with women's and men's national team under current leadership and governance structure. Also raises serious concerns that the sponsorship and broadcast revenues for the next 15 years are being transferred to owners of a for-profit professional men's league and used for their benefit. And so then basically this, in essence, is what they're asking. As a united group of Canada's national team players, we seek for full transparency from Canada Soccer, call for an investigation by Sport Canada of Canada Soccer's governance practices and the circumstances by which Canada Soccer entered into its agreement with Canada Soccer Business. Must include a closer look at the motivations of those who are said to have entered into this agreement without following basic standards of proper governance, why the agreement was allowed to remain in place if concerns were expressed by board members. Moving forward, we call for members of Canada's national teams to be properly consulted in key Canada Soccer decisions impacting national teams. Men's and women's national team players are committed to moving the sport forward, not backward, and to working together toward fair agreements that achieve equity in working conditions and compensation for men's and women's national teams. However, for that to be possible, immediate steps must be taken to address the serious issues raised by Rick Westhead's article. So, once again, we find ourselves in this situation where obviously the players kind of feel blindsided by information and by, what's Canada Soccer has told them it's impossible, and it feels like they've only gotten about half the answer, maybe if that. And as well, just late this week as well, it's come out that the men's national team will be forming a union.
Yeah.
They are being guided by a law firm in Toronto, and then also being advised by the same law firm in the States that helped the U.S. team set up their players' union. So they're also making steps in that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they didn't have a union. Oh, goodness.
Nah, that's crazy. And by the way,
Yeah.
I just shared the full statement on our
Awesome.
Twitter page. So if people really want to sit down and read it correctly,
Yeah, because it's long.
like from start to, because for sure you resumed it. But I mean, that's been pretty much their MO, Canada Soccer, is that when information came out about their poor management.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like, okay, we need to just make up an excuse and try to dodge the bullet instead of really trying to fix what is pointed out. Because I mean, it's just now that we've really became relevant, so this is okay.
Yeah.
For sure management is not up to par yet, but I don't feel that in that management there's the willingness to get better.
Exactly.
It's all very defensive.
Yes.
They were caught red-handed, and they're not fixing it. They're trying to deny something that everybody knows already. So just shut up, man, and just work. Just change things.
Yeah.
And they're just not doing it. And they give excuses without any facts, any proofs, any numbers. And we're like, okay, you know what? At least try to convince us by opening your books, by showing us what's going on. Where are you putting that money? Where are you investing in grassroots? Where are you? Because a statement with Canada Soccer saying, "Oh, but we're investing in grassroots," is not enough anymore because the there's a loss of confidence
Yes, exactly.
between the public and the organization. So at one point, you're going to have to show up your books and give some facts and some proofs and some definite answers to those concerns. And if you're not able to do that, you're going to have to start doing that from now on. And that's what they're not doing.
Well, there's a reason why they're not doing it, because if they had nothing to hide, it would be already out there. Because if,
Yeah.
like everything, if everything's good, come at me, I'll show you, and
Yeah.
you'll make your own opinion. But now they're trying to direct public opinion. They're trying to create the narrative instead of letting people make their own opinion. And this is a red flag when organizations start acting like this. It's often a very strong indicator of poor management, or maybe not even poor management, maybe bad bad will management. So
Yeah. No.
yeah,
It'd be
not
interesting
not
to
good,
see.
not a
No,
good look, not at
not at
all.
all. And I'd be really curious, if whatever it might be, Sport Canada or anyone else might go investigating into this deal and how it was struck. If apparently, according to former board members, it wasn't actually properly done, I would be super curious.
Yeah, no, it's for sure. And we talked about it before when Nick Bontis came out with that press conference that looked like going to see a theater or something, and just talking words and not saying anything. And then all the former players coming out and saying, it's been coming, we knew it, there was something, it's been years and years like this. And just Amy Walsh, when she came on our show, she talked about it. I think we could have kept her like 2 hours and she would have just gone on and to say what was wrong with Canada Soccer. So, now everything's coming out, and they're skating. They're trying to create a narrative, and it's not a good look at all. So, yeah. Hady, there's a few questions left.
Yeah, we have a few questions from our listeners, but that's usually in part 2. So we're starting part 2, I believe.
For sure, man. Let's go.
So let's start with the first one. It's from Robbie, Roberto Tiranardi. That's, I think, here today.
Yeah.
Live with us. With our annual slide down the standings starting, will the return of Georgie be enough to stop it?
Yeah. So back to CF Montreal. I'll take it, guys.
Go ahead.
I think a lot will depend on Pantemis' performances, because last year when the slide came, we talked about it in our postseason debrief. We said, maybe what we needed was a bit of a throwback to when Rémi Garde brought Bakary Sagna, Quincy Amarikwa, and Michael Azira during the July window, and kind of gave a second breath to the team and almost brought us into the playoffs, and we were having a disastrous start of the year. So now if Olivier Renard isn't committed to getting new players, at least the players that will enter the squad as quote-unquote new players, like James Pantemis, like Mason Toye, who's back, if these players perform, it's going to be maybe the next best thing after new signings. So I said James Pantemis, I'll add Mason Toye in that list. If our returnees, and even Georgi Mihailovic, who's back for injury, if they perform as well as we're expecting them, I think there won't be any annual slide. Otherwise, I think we'll be looking at one again, guys.
So you think it will be enough or not? Because that's the question.
That's
the political answer that you
no,
gave,
but yeah, you're right. Eddie. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
It's
but
not just Georgie. That's my
agree.
answer. It's Georgie, Mason, and James, and hopefully the other players continue performing at the level they're performing right now. You're right, Eddie. I'm giving some political stuff.
You're still not answering either.
Yeah, no, I answered. I said they need. I said
he's asking. Will the return of Georgie be enough to stop it? So is it going to be enough or not?
Well, just Georgie, no.
Okay.
Georgie alone, no. No.
Good. Thanks. Okay,
Yeah,
now you
that's
answered.
okay.
Eve, do you want to
That would
add
also
something?
no, that would also be my answer. I don't think one player is ever going to be the solution to fixing everything. God, I hope
Good.
not.
Good. Same here. Next question is Matt Lemay. RTFC playing Monopoly or Jigsaw Puzzle or both with their squad in the past weeks, thinking they're going to improve radically right now to be back as a top club. They even want to get rid of Ayo and Akinola for GAM money. Eve?
Uh, well, they're certainly not playing the same Monopoly that LAFC are. I'm sorry, I said it.
You got to be fine now.
Yeah, you.
Yeah.
By Don Garber.
Oh, I got no money, Don. So go look somewhere else. No. I mean, I think they're certainly gonna try the tactic, and I mean, we saw for the LA Galaxy, for example. You know, they signed some big name players and, you know, spent all of their money on just a few players, and it didn't end up working out for them until, you know, they only made the postseason once. For me, I'm like, it's a weird choice. It's a weird choice. I mean, like, yeah, they'll bring certainly butts to seats, but for me, I didn't think that Chris Guido looked fantastic last night by any stretch of the imagination. No. Insigne isn't going to stop you hemorrhaging goals unless you put him on the back line. And then we'll see what Marc-Anthony Kaye does. He's going to need to be a little bit stronger than he has been in the matches I've seen him play with TFC so far.
Yeah.
Sam, do you want to add something?
Well, it's just I just have the feeling that Toronto are maybe in a moment where they don't know too much what their identity is, and they're just. We went through this a bit. That phases was, you know, if we could get a big transfer, we'd bring him, even though it didn't really fit with our style, with our system. We'd kind of even invent positions for these players because we didn't really play in that way. I think Toronto is gonna go through that. It's not looking great, but one thing for sure, you know, Chris Mavinga is going through something right now. He's not performing at all. He even came out saying that he's having some problems in his personal life, and it's reflecting his play on the pitch. So now if you're going with O'Neill and McNaughton at center back, oh man, you can have Insigne all you want up front, but it's not good enough. You know, you need a full roster overhaul. Mm-hmm. Toronto is really struggling, and the fact that Michael Bradley is still such a big part of this lineup is a real problem, because he's nowhere near the Bradley that was transferred to Europe and that came back after and was solid in MLS for years. He's a shadow of himself right now.
You know what, guys? I don't agree with you at all. I think that the Toronto FC is trying to build another dynasty, like they did before with Josie, Michael Bradley, and Javinko as DPs. They're trying the same thing. They have only 2 DPs right now with Insigne and Bernardeschi. They have a ton of young talent, a ton. And when I say a ton, I can name quite a few with Jacqueline Marshall-Ruddy, with Noble Okello, with DeAndre Kerr, with Luca Petrasso. Very good players that are coming through the ranks. They have some good backbone with Schaffelberg is a young player too. You have Osorio, you have Marc-Anthony Kaye. You know, they just now terminated the contract of Salcedo.
Yeah,
they're gonna get another defender, and then, you know, it's a transition year for them. Next year they have that squad. They playing the top roles. It's as simple as that. If they gel.
Yeah,
they
that's
gel.
gonna be something. Yeah.
That's a big if,
Hady.
Yeah.
But you have a lot of Italian players in that, or Italian origin players. So there is some sort of it does make sense as a squad building team. From a squad building point of view, it does make sense. People seem to get along on paper. Let's see if it works on the pitch. But no, I'm kind of optimistic for them next year, and unfortunately it's not something that makes me happy. So, but yeah, I like the moves that they're making, but they know that this year it's not going to be the year where they're going to shine, right? So we'll see next year.
We'll see, man. But there's one thing with bringing a lot of players that know each other is that you might create cliques inside
Yeah,
the dressing room. Yeah, and I remember just in Montreal when there was that. Miguel brought a lot of Frenchmen, and we
yeah,
had some words coming
French
out of the
connection.
dressing room
Yeah,
that the dressing room was as fractioned as ever. And they look now, there's players from everywhere, and it
possibly.
seems tight as ever. Now it's not a question of nationality, where
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
more a
yeah.
question of are they willing
Personality.
to make the effort to gel, and maybe that it's
Exactly.
gonna be that's really important. Will these
Mm-hmm.
top European players
But
willing to work with
but
players coming from Can PL
yeah.
or stuff like that? We'll see.
But you have some players that can make the link. Michael Bradley played in Italy for a long
Yes.
time, so
Yeah.
that he can make the link. Luca Petrasso, he is Italian origin, so
Yeah.
you do have some links there that weren't really the case here. So let's stop talking about Toronto. We're
Yeah,
just
I
answering
was like,
Match's
this
question.
segment could have ended like 5 minutes ago. Thanks.
Yeah, but it's a question from one of our listeners, right?
I
So
know.
let's move on with the next one. It's it's more a comment from Wayne Wilkinson saying, "Spend the entire show celebrating a 3-1 CF Montreal win. It was before the game. We were celebrating, I think, the 1-0 win. I think
Yeah.
during
Yeah.
that show, Wayne.
He
Yeah.
was
Just
right,
by the
man. A
way."
win.
And the last question is more a simple guy. That's another question for your show on Sunday. Does Biello manage CF Montreal again?
I don't think
Eve,
so.
go ahead.
No, I don't think so. Honestly, I don't. No, no, no.
You guys know
What?
my answer, right?
Yeah, it's no.
You don't do comebacks.
And thank you very much, Eve. I don't like comebacks. So I love Mauro Biello, and maybe one day he will, but I don't like comebacks.
No, me
No,
neither. I
I
think.
will. From what I saw with the U20s, it was like that was
Nah,
basically
yeah.
him in a head
Oh, but
coaching
that-
role. I know it's
Yeah.
different. I know
Very
it's different.
different.
But like, I
When he
was like,
talked
bro.
about it. By
Yeah,
the
I
way, he
know.
talked about it. He said
Oh yeah.
the goal wasn't to win. The goal was to try players and to make everybody play to prepare them for the first team and to see their level for the first team. That's exactly what he said.
Okay.
So
Okay.
they weren't
That
going into
explains
the
a lot, then.
tournament to do whatever. It was some sort of exhibition tournament for them.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Nah, but no for me too.
Who am I to
for
judge?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's it for the questions. Do we straight go to social media?
Of course. Now for the last
Born
segment
ready?
of the show, social media.
Let's do this. Let's do this. So social media in a few seconds. Yeah, so let's start social media right away, and I'm a bit lost with my thing. So first of all, it's from Harold Garaz. Both CF Montreal and TFC Live fans might have our differences, but we all have to agree that Michael Bradley is finished. Sadly.
Okay, not sadly.
Do you guys agree?
You know how much I love to talk about Michael Bradley.
Go ahead. It's all
No,
yours.
I really don't.
I know that Eve wasn't gonna comment this tweet, so it's for you. It's for
No,
you.
but he's not. I just said it. He's not close to being the player he used to be. I never liked him as a player, but
Nobody liked him.
I could appreciate it, that he was a game changer for a while for Toronto. But now
Yeah,
he's-
no, he was, and he was a really important player.
Yes.
But time gets the best of all of us.
Yeah. So finished. I wouldn't say finished, but he's not far from it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he's finished. I think that he cannot play, as a lone defensive midfielder anymore. But if there are two and there's someone that's a bit more defensive minded, I think he can be pretty good because he has the vision, he has the experience and everything. So I wouldn't say he's finished, but he can't be alone. He can't be the guy that really does everything in the midfield. That's impossible.
Yeah.
So. Second tweet, it's from Two Soccer. Toronto FC, a club whose season highlight reel consists entirely of footage from Pearson Airport arrivals area. Or like, I don't know. I love
That's a
it.
good one.
That's a
He made me
hoot.
laugh.
That's a
No,
great
that's
one.
a hoot.
So,
And actually, the departures, I'd say the departures area as well, because I think
Yeah,
it was a highlight for them when Salcedo left.
True.
Oh,
I agree. Then we have number 3, and it's from Liz Doodle Girl So chicken wing 13, wing with two G's. Mock my words. Tomorrow, Angel City FC header queen Vanessa Gilles is going to shine for the Canadian national team against the U.S. women's national team.
We will
I'm going to start with this one, guys. I think that this game is going to be decided on set pieces, and I think that Vanessa Gilles has a very big role to play defensively and also offensively.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's gonna be if she's able to get through, because now she's kind of told the world that she's very good with her head. So now they're gonna try to mark her, maybe double team her. But if she can get that, just that yard of space to really get her leap and her head on the ball, she's so dangerous. I really like that player, and
she almost scored against Jamaica. So.
I know, man, and she always get, and the I have to say something, the delivery.
Yeah.
Especially by Janine Becky when she does take these corners is just fantastic. So that helps a lot. Vanessa Gilles get these chances. So yeah, I hope she's right. I really hope she's right.
Eve, anything?
Yeah. No, not particularly. It'd be interesting to see for sure if it's decided on a set piece. But certainly if it is, Vanessa Gilles is going to be, I think, probably the star of the show.
Of course.
Okay, so number 4, it's from our friend Amy Walsh.
Amy.
As the last line of defense, a reliable goalkeeper does more than stopping and starting the attack off the back. Key qualities: ability to read the game, organized backline, excellent positional awareness. Essential qualities: effective communicator, confident leader, great mental game. Guys, wisdom, right?
Very.
Yeah, but that was what we used to compliment Breza on last year.
The confident aura, yeah.
Yeah, and that's everything that went wrong from him this year. So you see how mental this game is, especially this position. I mean, when it's going your way, you're feeling it, you're good. When it's not, it can be a nightmare, and that's pretty much what happened to Breza. So maybe it's just a psychological thing, and I think the time off the pitch will help him. Now it's to see if he's gonna be back on it, but for sure it's gonna help him, find his game again.
Kind of reset.
Yeah, exactly. A reset was needed for him.
And last but not least, it's from Red Stripes. Given certain past periods of goal droughts, this CONCACAF W tournament has shown again what offensive talent lurk up and down the Canadian women's national team lineup. And there's he retweeted all the goals scored by the Canada in the CONCACAF W Championship. Guys, do you agree with that? Do you agree that we're fighting easily the back of the net?
Well, in some matches, definitely, obviously. But I think, versus Panama, it was arduous, honestly. You can probably say as well versus Costa Rica, it took a hot minute to again. So certainly goals are being scored, and they're being scored from a variety of ways. Like sometimes it's a set, sometimes it's header, sometimes it's individual effort, like Julia Grosso's goal, and so they're coming from a lot of sources, which is good. But as far as easily finding the net, it's not exactly it's a 20-1.
No, exactly. It's reassuring that they're starting to find the back of the net, because when Jorge came, he talked a lot about the problems that never really seemed dangerous, and we basically won won the Olympics on penalties or on set plays, and so it was a bit worrying, but to see it unblock a bit, I think it's going to give confidence to every attacking player, and you see the attacking players of this team kind of finding their game all at the same time, and you see Hydema, Leon, players who struggled a bit recently, now really looking better. So I don't know, man. It's maybe just clicking. Maybe it just took some time under Bev Priestman to click, but now it's clicking slowly, and it's gonna look better in the future, hopefully.
Hopefully, I hope that it's gonna be the case. We're gonna know tomorrow evening, if the tactical.
Tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's
It's
at
always late for you, Eve. It's late.
I know.
But whenever we record at
baby.
6:30, she's like, "It's late. It's late."
I'm like,
So, one last question. It's Chan just sent us a question here
yeah.
during the show. Will Impact sign any new players because it doesn't make sense a mercado with zero changes in soccer? Well, we know that
Olivier Renard
Renard,
said, yeah.
he said he will look at opportunities, and he said he was going to wait to see what kind of opportunity arises. But do you agree with the second part of the question of Chan? It doesn't make sense a mercado with zero change in soccer. That's the interesting part that I just
I'd say
really
it's
made
certainly
me,
rare. It doesn't happen often. I'm just saying, like, I mean, if your team is stuck for cap space and things like that, you're kind of limited in what you can do in a league like MLS. Because we know that Montreal has like 400,000, give or take, of cap space available, and that's not necessarily gonna. If you're to sign somebody under that salary just for the sake of saying, okay, look, we've signed a player, are they going to really add something to the squad? And then obviously, if somebody leaves, somebody new is going to have to come. I think, for sure. But yeah, no, I agree that it's not usual.
No, it says that it makes zero sense. I think it makes zero sense if you find that your team has some weaknesses in certain positions where Montreal definitely have. I think we set it
left
up.
wing back.
Yeah, but Lassie has done much
Oh,
better.
he's been very good.
He has improved a lot.
Yeah,
but I think you could have a better left wing back than Lassie, and maybe find another position for Lassie, or when you can have a rotation player when Johnston can play on the right.
You're
gonna need it at some
rotation
point.
players. So we don't have anybody like Basong. Unfortunately, it didn't really.
No, and Quizera is still a project for me. So
Quizera is a project. So it's funny because right after just 4 or 5 minutes ago, Matthew B that talked about Kuchos just scoring his goal.
Oh my God!
First goal for the Columbus Crew. One of the biggest transfers in maybe MLS history or something like that. I think about more than 10 million, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember the price, but it paid out, right? So I don't know. It's funny we talk about extra players or quality players coming into the league, and none of them are coming to Montreal. So yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I can't wait to see how it's going to unfold because I think that the transfer market is very moving. So it all depends. Maybe at one point we're going to do maybe a trade within MLS because that's a possibility. Olivier Renard said there's 400,000 available still under the cap space. So maybe there he can find an opportunity or two to come and join the squad. More just one with 400,000.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Let's wait and see.
Yeah, I'm not too optimistic though. So
yeah, me neither. But I'm pretty good with the team that we have.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think we can win a championship with that team, but we could maybe make a little push in the playoffs. Maybe a game or more than one game, one playoff game.
Let's qualify first.
Yeah, for
Please.
sure.
And that's it for me.
Cool. So that was the fire of social media this week, guys. Thanks. Hady, thanks Eve. It was really cool. Once again, spending the night with you, talking soccer and everything CF Montreal and the women's national team.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man, for preparing the show, for
your tactical
awareness, and Eve, thanks for being here and telling us exactly how the fans feel during the game, before the game, and after the game. So. Always very nice.
Yes, and I'm very sorry. I got a little miffed when we had to talk about TFC a whole bunch. I'm really sorry about that. if that came off as Zimblay, I did not mean it in any way, shape, or form, and I was very grateful for Matt's question. Sorry about that.
It's all good. So everyone who rided with us during the show, thank you so much. Everyone who's gonna listen during the week, it's a pleasure. So we'll see you guys in in 7 days time. Sunday 6:30. We're back. Usually always on time. on Sunday. And that's it. Have a great week, and we'll see you there for another episode of The Ball is Wrong. Bye.